Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Growing Up is Overrated podcast. My name is T, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Jen. This week, we'll be discussing our experiences as females in the gaming space. There are many assumptions the gaming community makes about who is on the other side of the screen. But where do females fit into those assumptions, and how can we make it a better experience for non-traditional gamers? Now, into the podcast.
Hello, T. How are you doing this week?
Hi, Jen. I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, just going along, playing video games, doing that sort of normal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a splat-tastic weekend so far. So, yeah, we've had a really awesome gaming weekend. More so than normal.
Yeah, how does that differ from our normal lives? I don't know, because we game all the time.
Just more competitive and a little less Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
So this week, we're going to be talking about being gamers and our experience in gaming spaces.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of I feel like we have a lot to say in with this topic. So first off, I just wanted to kind of say who do we think is the stereotypical gamer?
Oh, well, I mean, who does the media portray as a gamer when it's when people are watching a movie? It's always a dude. They play violent video games like Call of Duty or Halo,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's this idea that it's not manly if you're a gamer to play life sims either.
Mm-hmm. And for those people out there who don't know what a life sim is, it's a life simulator type game. So it's a game that you go into and you do tasks that you would do in daily life, like The Sims, for example, is a very popular life sim.
It's basically playing dolls.
Very
Which I'm not
similar.
against. I can be in my 20s and play with dolls. Leave me alone.
I play with digital dolls in the form of video games.
Yeah, that's essentially what Animal Crossing is. And those games are my favorite. So in that way, I fit into the idea of what kind of games girls play if they play. But I think in that way, there's a lot of guys who like life sims and they might be judged if they say, oh yeah, I love playing The Sims and Animal Crossing. They're my favorite games, by a lot of their guy friends possibly. But that's not my direct experience. That's more of a thing I've heard from the guys in the Animal Crossing community that maybe I've spoken with about it.
Yeah, it's definitely there are assumptions, and if you break those assumptions, then people look at you strangely. And this is true for all nerd spaces. There's assumptions about who a nerd is and what they're into, and same thing for video games. And that as a female, it's hard to break into those spaces, especially when everybody communicates in a gamer tag. And if your gamer tag is not specifically female, then you are immediately assumed to be a guy by other gamers.
Female gamer 22.
Yeah, I often include Jen in my gamer tags, so people tend to know that I am a girl. For other reasons, other parts of my gamer tag also kind of give that away. But if you hide that fact, then it's really easy to be masquerading as a guy.
Yeah, mine is just Islander T. So I don't know, to me that sounds decently girly, but I think that's just because I know that I'm a female. So I've had some people be like, "Oh yeah, you sound like a nice chap." And I'm like, "Actually, I'm a lady."
especially in games that don't use voice chat and you're just typing.
Yeah. Yeah, or yeah, even in like Discord or you know, those types of spaces.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say especially Discord, honestly, because Discord does not. There's no like obvious. If you're just texting with somebody back and forth, you don't even get the verbal cues.
Right. Yeah, if you don't join a voice chat. I I think I was really surprised how masculine an Animal Crossing server would be. I I always just assumed since as a girl I was my brothers always made fun of me because I would not stop playing Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon. Um and so I always just assumed that there wouldn't be a lot of guys in that space.
Hmm.
But I was surprised to see it was largely male. Maybe more like less saturated, but it was still assumed that I was a male, which I thought was really surprising. I don't know.
Well, I think that just goes with any gaming space. And another thing that I wanna touch on is that Animal Crossing is a really strong female space, but I still think that females have trouble putting themselves out there in anything relating to
Yeah.
video games. So
Yeah.
in voice chat channels especially, it definitely feels like it can be a male dominated area. As you and I have both experienced, even if there's like three girls in the call and like two dudes, the dudes tend to take over the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, or like start to mansplain the video game terms or how to play the game or
Hmm.
like things like that.
Yeah, so it ends up feeling like in those mixed spaces, sometimes it feels like girl gamers get shut down, and then
Yeah.
that in turn means that they won't speak up as much when they want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes feel that it when I try to break into a male dominated space, it is assumed that I'm going to be overly emotional, um, and also be a fake gamer,
Mhm.
makes sense? Like, I'm not maybe I'm just playing video games because I think that's, like, a way I'm going to get attention from males or, um, that it's something outside of my own intrinsic interests that make me want to play games, which
Yeah,
is
I yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, that I feel like there's this assumption that if you're a girl and you play games or you say you play games, then you're not actually interested. I mean, we can see this with a lot of Twitch personalities. Like they get accused of streaming because they and getting a lot of views because of how they look and that they must not actually be interested in gaming. They just know that there are thirsty dudes on Twitch who will watch them because they're hot girls. And
r
that's like so not okay.
well, I think that it gets even worse if they, like, wear makeup and present themselves as traditionally attractive females in our culture, um, and a lot of the time they just wanna wear makeup and fun clothes and do their hair in a fun way because it makes them feel nice, or it's just a way to express themselves, and it has nothing to do with how others are perceiving them, it's just for fun for them, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I can't say what I would do if I were streaming, right? There's a reason why I don't stream video games. It is a lot due to the fact that I don't want to be judged on the way that I look or, even honestly, even, like, doing a podcast is challenging just the way that you speak sometimes, you know?
Mhm.
But, yeah, so I can't even imagine what it would be like to be an actual like gamer girl with a following in that sense. It just adds like a whole other complication to it.
Yeah, it's very intense, I feel like, to be a girl on Twitch and to be a prominent girl gamer. You just get so much more criticism that other people don't get. Like, guys all assume that you don't know things, and sometimes they'll like quiz you. They'll ask you things or they'll explain things for you, and it's like, you don't need to explain this thing that I brought up.
Yeah, one, I brought it up. Two, anybody can just go on the wiki for the game.
And just Google
For
it.
this information. I didn't ask. Thank you so much for your concern.
And sometimes I think it's because they want to show off.
Yeah, maybe it's like part of like a white knight sort of idea of how they can come save the female.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, it's funny because they sometimes have very weird ideas about women. Like I was watching this gameplay of Among Us, a very popular game right now. And some people were being very, very rude to this one specific player, but once it was revealed that this player was a girl, they suddenly changed their attitude and were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so nice," and like started like being really nice. And it was like, this is so weird. like it's like nothing changed other than the supposed gender of this player being revealed.
Yeah, that's super weird. And also goes on the other side, right? Like it's not my experience obviously to be a more feminine dude in these spaces, but guys can be really mean in gaming spaces and not just to girls, but like to other guys also,
Mm-hmm.
which it's just weird that all of a sudden, oh, you're a girl? Okay, like I'm gonna be really nice to you.
It feels a little condescending.
Yeah, it's totally condescending. It's condescending as a female, but it's also condescending to other dudes, but maybe dudes just don't think about that as intensely. Like they don't think how potentially hurtful words are, like when dudes just talk to each other, they're not, or at least they I've heard a lot of guys say that they're not as butthurt about like crap talking to each other.
Yeah, maybe
Does
it's
that make
just a thing
sense?
that yeah, that it does. Like, maybe they just don't take things as personally, but like people can be mean.
Yeah. People are especially mean on the internet because of the anonymity. How
Anonymity.
anonymity. How anonymous they can be. And yeah, it's really just strange how, like, what are the assumptions that they're making about who
Mm-hmm.
you are based on where you are speaking online? Does everybody just assume that everyone's a guy in all spaces, like not just gaming? Because I don't talk on other like forums. Like I just stay in gaming spaces. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've had I don't know.
I mean, I don't talk a lot in non-gaming spaces either, but the assumption that people are guys seems to be pretty universal across the internet. Um, it it's the default in our society, I feel like.
Yeah,
I
you
saw
have
I saw this
go ahead.
great video once that was talking about how in our society women are a deviation from the default. When you think about the default person, like it's most people would think of a guy first,
Yeah.
unless you
Yeah,
specify.
right. You had brought this up in a chat of ours, but it was the thing about the boy and his dad.
Oh yeah. The classic riddle of a boy and his father get into a car accident and the father dies. And then the boy is taken to the hospital, and the surgeon looks at the boy and says, I can't operate on this boy. He is my son. And the fact that most people can't figure out what the answer to the riddle is, and it's just that the surgeon's his mom. Like, so many people can't figure out that, oh, wait, the surgeon could be a woman. They just have this assumption that surgeons are guys.
Right. When I was trying to figure that out, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's like their stepdad and you're not specifying it's a stepdad. But I was so ashamed that I couldn't think of the fact that the surgeon might have been the mom. But I swear that I could have sworn that you said he. And so I assumed that you said the surgeon said he couldn't do it. But I just assumed that. You didn't say that. Dang it. It got me.
Yeah, it's... I mean, I didn't get the riddle either. Like, the first time it was posed to me. I actually said it was a gay couple, which is interesting. Which is another minority that, like, makes sense, but also was not the point of the question. Like, I still assume that the surgeon must be a dude.
I mean, yeah, it was not the point of the question, but you did at least, I don't know, at least both of us geared towards like a non-traditional answer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still not great for feminism.
No, but I love this question because it doesn't present itself like a bias test. You're not saying, here, take this bias exam to tell me how biased you are. It's just, answer this riddle. What is your answer? Right. And people don't think about why they answer what they answer. They just answer it.
Yep.
And I think it's really effective in actually showing people what they think first.
Yeah.
And why they don't, and that they maybe don't think of something else.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you switched it to be like a nurse,
mm-hmm.
I think people would assume nurse has to be female.
Exactly. So if you switched it to be like, the nurse is like, I can't take care of this boy, they're my son. Like, then it would be like, oh, well, the surgeon's his mom. I mean, sorry, the nurse is his mom. Like, that's obvious. like people would get that. Which is just shows our how we assign people in society in our heads to look a certain way. And it's the same thing with gamers. We assign a picture in our head of what we think a gamer is. And they're most likely a teenage boy. And I would specify this with like probably what a gamer looks like in most people's heads, a white heterosexual teenage boy.
That too.
Sitting in a room playing Call of Duty on his Xbox. I feel like that's what people immediately think of. And gamers are so much more than that. They are girls, they're gender nonconforming, they're Black, Latino, Latina. Like, there's all these people that are gamers, but they get ignored when people just think about what the default gamer supposedly is. I'm putting air quotes. You can't see me doing air quotes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a little bit off topic, but still on topic. But in that way, I think that also goes, like, is true for when maybe some parents might see their kids being a gamer and they assume that they're lazy because all they do is spend, like, they assume all they do is spend their time playing games. Like, gamers can also be people who are active. Like, you can play video games. Like, my physical therapist loves games, and we would talk about games while we were, while I was doing exercises at physical therapy. Like, and he's ripped. Like, I was like, I don't know, it's just really interesting, especially as games get more mainstream, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 80s, only nerds played games. But now it's
and we use that term. We use that term lovingly. I myself proclaim nerd. I love nerds.
Most of my friends are nerds. I'm a research nerd.
But yeah, so like the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that like when when there are gamers, like kids are gamers, for example, like I had such a hard time when I was young getting into the gaming space because I was a girl, not because of feeling like I was unwelcome, but just because people didn't like, I mean, it was sort of that I wasn't welcomed in that like none of my friends played games. It was just me that was interested. I had the DS. I liked playing games and no one else did. And I feel like it's easier for guys to get into it because it's just a generally thing that more of them do. And they have friends who do it too.
Yeah.
So then they get involved together.
Yeah, that's like when we first started talking and becoming friends, I said, "Oh, the main reason I'm into games is because I have two older brothers. Like, I don't have any sisters, I just have brothers. And I always wanted to do what they were doing." And you're like, I feel like every girl who I ever meet who's a girl gamer got into games because of their brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have any brothers and you were just a girl who liked games.
Yeah,
Like,
I was very lonely. But yeah, I do have that theory that a majority of girl gamers have some family member that's a dude, like whether it be a brother or a cousin or
yeah.
somebody in their family who's a guy got them into gaming and showed them what it was about and they liked it. Because
Yeah,
you
they
have to
had
be
like
exposed somehow.
right. Or like have a liaison, a bridge person to help you get into the space.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a male.
Just to get you somewhat interested because
Yeah.
like I got into gaming because I was at a friend's house and she was playing Wild World, Animal Crossing Wild World on her DS. And she let me play. And I had a great time. She also had a brother, by the way. Um who played video games. So she had her DS that she played on, and then I played on it. And I was like, I want this. And then I got a Nintendo DS with Wild World on it. And that's what got me into gaming. And so like you need a bridge. And often that bridge is connected by some sort of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't it's weird because so I was introduced to games through my brother, but I did have the people people who I was friends with who I got my GameCube from and who introduced me to Animal Crossing first were a like this they were siblings and they were three sisters. And I was friends with the oldest sister and then would sometimes hang out with the younger sister, and then they had, like, a baby sister who was, like, too young to hang out with, really. I just baby her, but they didn't have any guys, and their dad, I don't think, was particularly a gamer either. So
Yeah, I mean this is
I don't
not
know what got them into it. No, right, like, it's not,
it's not a hard and fast rule. I've just
right,
noticed it
but
quite a few times at this point that I start to notice
right,
a pattern.
yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, "Wait, how did they get into gaming?" I would love to ask them. I should ask them sometime, but
Y- yeah, you
it's
should
just
ask
yeah,
them if you still know them.
but my life would have been so different if I didn't meet them and they had Animal Crossing because I don't know how I would have found out about it. Maybe I wouldn't have found out about it until I got a Wii, but I was interested in City Folk because I played the GameCube game so much.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people our age who had a like got introduced to gaming through the Wii. Because everybody
Yeah,
had that thing.
the Wii was really game changing, haha.
Haha.
Um, it was really game changing because it was marketed for families. And I
hmm
don't know that it's the first family gaming system, but it was the first popular one that I can think of at least.
I
Because
feel
my
like it
mom wanted it. My
yeah.
mom wanted this system.
Yeah, I feel like it was a very different marketing push than game systems used to be. I feel like game systems used to be marketed towards children. It's like
Yeah,
you buy this for your kids.
yeah,
The Wii was you buy this for all of you, which was a very different message to put forward about it. And nowadays, I feel like game systems are marketed towards adults, which is interesting. Now that we've transitioned into this, like Nintendo's still doing its Nintendo thing of marketing mostly to children and families, but
yeah.
like Xbox and PlayStation, I feel like they're mostly targeted towards adults these days.
Yeah, well,
With their marketing.
they have more adult content more.
I mean, that's true too, but like everybody knows that teens play M-rated games.
Right.
Um
But I think that marketers have been looking at millennials and tracking us as we grow older and really trying to focus in on us. Um,
mhm.
but joke's on them, we don't have any money.
Yeah, I'm barely a millennial. I'm very much a
Yeah,
cusper.
I'm technically the last year of the millennial.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I would still call you a cusper because it's not truly hard and fast, it's just technical.
Yeah, so I'm like on the cusp between Gen Z and millennials, and therefore I belong nowhere. But
You're just Jen. You're just Jen.
the another thing that really bothered me when I was a kid, well, it didn't actually bother me when I was a kid, but now that I'm an adult and I notice it, it bothers me. The purveyance of games that are feel like they're made specifically for girls. Like game series that are like, we're gonna be for girls. Like, what's that series called that I used to play all the time? Imagine.
What?
Those Imagine games. Imagine Teacher. Imagine Fashion Designer.
I never played those.
Oh, really? I had so many of those.
No, I never heard of that.
Oh no, it was a game series that was basically like that was you were imagining that you had these professions. So like the fashion designer one you would make clothing. The teacher one you'd pretend to be a teacher and like do lessons and grade things and whatever. But they were very clearly like made for girls. In their packaging was covered in pink. Like and the like another one would be the Barbie games. I never had any
Okay.
of those, but
Barbie Rescue. Best game ever. Still holds up. It still holds up.
really?
Yeah, so my boyfriend got he did a what's it called? Not an internal machine. It's a I don't know. But he basically had to do all this like fancy schmancy stuff to make it work on my computer. And I played it and it's still so good. You save a monkey. You save a monkey. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sure.
I I just yeah, I know I really loved the Barbie games that I played, but there were some real bad ones.
Yeah, it's just the idea that I feel like girl games were often thrown out, like just put on the market, and it's like, oh, people will buy it for girls who are interested in games, but it doesn't feel like there's the same equivalent for guys. Like if there was, then I wouldn't be so miffed by it. But it doesn't feel like there's the same like, oh, we're going to put this out because guys will buy it.
It's like a bone throw
hmm
girls. Yeah. Yeah, it usually seems like there's less money put into them, less development, and they're just kind of an afterthought, just and then they're like, "Well, girls just aren't interested in
And it's like
games."
girls would be
It's like, "It's 'cause you make crappy
yeah, girls would
ones."
be interested in games if you treated them like they were just as capable of playing them
Yeah.
and didn't saddle them um with the leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a Beauty and the Beast game. I think it was for the Sega Genesis, and it was the hardest game ever, and it still is really hard. People have tried to speedrun it, and it's so hard. Like, these are professional gamers, and they're like, "Why?" It's like, "But I wanted to play it so bad, and I always try to play it." And then I'd have to get my brothers to finish playing it for me because I just wanted to see what would happen in the game. But it was
Yeah.
hard. It's too hard for me.
Yeah, one of the final things that I want to touch on is this idea of gaming spaces for minorities in gaming. So like having a female server or like or any other minority cuz it feels like sometimes you have to justify making your own space, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I do understand that.
Because, like, sometimes you just want to be with people who understand your struggle.
Yeah, it's not that you want to be discluding people, it's that you want to have a concentration of other people with similar, experiences to you,
Mhm.
right? And I think that it can be viewed as a way to be like you're being the one who's annoyed about not having inclusion, but then there's, like, the people who are the main, like,
Yeah.
who
The
are included feel like they're now being discluded by people who want inclusion. That's so convoluted, but
I get what
I
you
think
mean,
that makes
though.
sense.
Like, okay, so the minority group now wants to have their own group by themselves, and the majority is like, well, wait, I thought you wanted to be included. Now why are you excluding us? Like, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah,
Like, and I understand why that might feel frustrating. Um, but it's different. It's a different thing. Sometimes
yeah,
people just want to vibe with people who understand them
yeah,
and not have to constantly feel like they're answering questions or that they are being the poster person for their particular minority.
yeah. You just wanna be heard and understood and validated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that, wraps up everything we had to say about this topic for now.
Yeah, I think so.
So, how about we transition into the silver
Silver lining.
linings?
Ooh, I like this. Okay, so I guess I'll go first this time. Why not? So it was my birthday last week. Whoop whoop.
Yay!
I'm now 23. I've gotten a year older, and nothing has changed.
Yay! New year, new age, new island.
Island. We're gonna have to wait a while for you to say that because it was just your birthday.
Yeah, my birthday's not till the end of the year, so.
Yeah, so it'll be a while. But yeah, so I'm now 23, and I don't really know how to feel about that.
You're killing it.
Am I though?
You're
I
killing
don't
Accept the compliment, woman.
Uh, so what about you, T? What is making you happy?
Well, I wrote down Sailor Moon because I've been really into watching Sailor Moon.
Yes, you have.
But I'm gonna throw a bonus one and just say that I'm thankful for you.
Aww.
So, yeah, birthdays just make me feel sappy. Like, I'm glad you're here another year.
Aw, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find new episodes every other Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us out a lot. We hope you'll continue to listen to us talk about our lives and hopefully learn something about yourself too. And remember, growing up is overrated.